Hello and welcome to the Jerry Hicks Show, exclusively on the Censored Freedom Network. Now, the man that thought MAGA extremism was a new part of the X Games, your host, Jerry Hicks.
Thank you so much, Dave, and thank you everybody for being here tonight on the Jerry Hicks Show. It is Wednesday, March the 12th, 2025, and we have quite a bit to talk about tonight. We've got a Doge report, as always. Plus, we're going to talk about weaponized judges and the Columbia University case. So, quite a bit of news to get into, ladies and gentlemen, and very little time to get there. Before we do, however, I'd like to go ahead and give a quick shout out to everybody listening, whether you are on BitChute, Rumble, X, or YouTube. We really appreciate you guys being along for the ride. Make sure you hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe, hit that share, hit whatever button it is on whichever platform you may be on. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let us dive right over here into the news rack. Doing something a little different tonight, folks. Hanging out at the bottom of the screen instead up there at the top. We'll see if this is any better. Tell me how you guys like it. Which one do you prefer, this way or the other way? What I do prefer, ladies and gentlemen, however, is saving money. And I'm sure all of you guys prefer to save money. And that's exactly what Doge has been trying to do. However, every now and again, like every day, you're going to find reporters that call themselves reporters anyway. Let me rephrase that. You're going to find people that claim to be reporters and journalists that are actually propagandists that are trying to do nothing but stir up trouble. For instance, Karen Tumulty being one of these examples. She says, "Scoop, Social Security facing pressure from Doge weighs big cuts to phone service. Agency considers ending phone program that helps with claims processing and is used by millions." So would you like to know what they actually ended with the phone service, ladies and gentlemen? Here's what actually happened. Doge hits back and says, "This is inaccurate and misleading. And Social Security is protecting our seniors by ensuring bank accounts aren't changed with little to no authentication. Approximately 40% of Social Security direct deposit fraud is associated with fraudsters calling the Social Security agency on the phone and changing the direct deposit bank account from the correct one to a fraudulent one. Starting on March 29th, in order to change the direct deposit bank account, one can either change it online using 2FA. Call center technicians will be available to assist with this. Or they can change it in person at a SSA service center. This is identical to the fraud protections at almost all major banks, where deposit changes are made either online or in person. All other phone services remain the same." So she's freaking out about people not being able to defraud the system again. These people are out of their minds, ladies and gentlemen. They do not like this country. You've got these propagandists here, Fed Girl Wapo, Hannah Nathanson, and Liza Dworskin, and Faze says apparently it took four propagandists to write one bullshit article against Elon. Really? Are you running out of ideas? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. Clearly not journalism by any means. Ladies and gentlemen, to protect you from fraud, we will no longer accept changes to bank account information over the phone from Social Security. Once again, we just went over that. USDA was funding a $397,000 grant in the San Francisco Bay Area. Let's let the head of the USDA tell us about that.
Hi, everyone. This is Brooke Rollins coming to you from the United States Department of Agriculture here in Washington, D.C. for your Doge update. Until today, USDA was funding a $397,000 grant in the San Francisco Bay Area to educate queer, trans, and BIPOC urban farmers and consumers about food justice and values-aligned markets. By stopping this wasteful spending here at USDA, we are ending identity politics and we are refocusing our agency on its core mission of supporting American farming, ranching, and forestry. Stay tuned for more updates coming soon.
There you go. Brooke Rollins of the USDA giving us an update on a $397,000 grant that will no longer be wasted. So absolutely awesome work going on there at the USDA. Another place that awesome work is actually going on, and I never thought I'd say that, is over here at the EPA, ladies and gentlemen, as we have another update from Lee Zeldin.
Over the past few weeks, it has been a high priority of mine to identify and bring to light countless issues regarding a Biden EPA gold bars scheme. $20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution in a deliberate effort to limit government oversight, doling out your money through just 8 pass-through, politically connected, unqualified, and in some cases brand new NGOs. The money has since been frozen, and the Department of Justice and FBI have been investigating. You may have heard how a group linked to Stacey Abrams received $2 billion after reporting a mere $100 in total revenue the year before. Or how the founding director of the EPA's program dished out $5 billion to his former employer after shaping the legislation that created the program from his White House post. These two examples have only been the tip of the iceberg. I'm here to report back to the American people that as of today, I have officially terminated these grant agreements entirely. Not only does EPA have full authority to take this action, but frankly, we were left with no other option. This termination is based on substantial concerns regarding program integrity, objections to the award process, programmatic fraud, waste, and abuse, and misalignment with the agency's priorities, which collectively undermine the fundamental goals and statutory objectives of the awards. The only way we can reduce waste, increase oversight, and meet the intent of the law as it was written is by terminating these grants. It is my unwavering commitment to President Trump, Congress, and to you. The EPA will once again be an exceptional steward of your tax dollars. I will have it no other way.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, Lee Zeldin of the EPA giving us an update on the 8 recipients of the $20 billion in Biden EPA gold bars. Definitely something that I'm glad that they are looking into. There's another story here, and I'm not sure I've got it queued up. I may not have, about Asheville. We'll get to that here shortly. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, HUD Secretary Scott Turner rejects, there it is, it was the next story up. What do you know? Rejects Asheville's $225 million disaster relief request after shocking DEI clause exposed. So, the city of Asheville had applied for a grant from the Housing and Urban Development for $225 million for disaster relief, which is very, very badly needed in North Carolina, of course. But it was denied. The reason it was denied is because a jaw-dropping diversity, equity, and inclusion clause was buried deep in the city's draft action plan, a clause that prioritizes woke ideology over the urgent need of everyday Americans still reeling from Hurricane Helene's devastation 6 months ago. In an interview with Fox News' Maria Bartiromo, Secretary Turner condemned the city's initial draft action plan for prioritizing assistance based on race and gender rather than need. This, folks, is out of hand. This is something that needs to stop. This is something that should have never been going on to begin with. There is no prioritizing one skin color or one gender over another when it comes time for emergency relief. If you need help, you need help. Period. Full stop. It is against the Constitution to base it on anything other than your absolute need.
Asheville, North Carolina, still reeling 6 months after Hurricane Helene devastated the region. The city is estimating $1 billion worth of damage to public property and more than $17 million in lost revenue. Approval of its $225 million federal disaster recovery grant is contingent on the action plan that it must submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. But their draft includes DEI criteria, with the city saying that the impact of disasters is often disproportionately borne by vulnerable populations, including low to medium income households, marginalized communities, persons with disabilities, and other underserved groups. Joining me now in this Fox Business exclusive,
which we all know is garbage. It will be handed out equally, not because you take some type of priority, right? This DEI is absolute trash. I'm glad it's getting rid of. And at this point, could we even trust them to hand out the funds correctly since they've already tried to do this? Should the administration actually appoint somebody in that area specifically to ensure that they're handed out correctly? I mean, I think they should, but that's just me. So this is a new story, ladies and gentlemen. I've been kind of following it on the outskirts here. Very interesting story, and it's only seeming to grow, so let's go ahead and start covering it now as it continues to grow. This started about 2 or 3 days ago. Of course, we remember the events at Columbia College and Bernard College between the pro-Palestinian agitators and the Jewish students that they were trying to stop and harm and do everything they could to give a hard time. Ladies and gentlemen, it turns out the main agitator of this, a guy named Kalil, where is his name here? We've got it right here. Muhammad Kalil was arrested and detained by the Department of Homeland Security. He has now been revoked from his immigration status. So here's the thing at question. He was at the colleges. He was leading the protest. He was agitating. He was doing things that may or may not have been considered freedom of speech if he was an American citizen. However, ladies and gentlemen, he is a visitor, a guest to this country. He does not have the rights afforded U.S. citizens. To a degree, yes, but he has to follow a completely different set of rules. If you come into this country on a green card and you start trying to do things to take the government down, if you start trying to do things to cause trouble, to break laws, to agitate the public, to have protests and things like this, that is against your green card. That can be pulled from you and you can be taken out of this country. So the left right now is trying to argue that everything he did was covered under free speech. And for an American citizen, yes, it probably would have been. But this is not a free speech issue. If you're going to prove, as they claim, that he's only being prosecuted because he's quote-unquote pro-Palestinian, then you would have to find similar conduct by a pro-Israel student, which is not persecuted. The problem with these free speech arguments by the anti-Israel crowd is that they are the ones taking over buildings. They are the ones trashing buildings. They are the ones intimidating staff. They are the ones doing terroristic actions, ladies and gentlemen, not the Israelis, the Jews, the whatever it is. It is these agitators, these pro-Palestinians, these terrorist organizations that are doing this. So no, they don't have free speech. He needs to be kicked out of this country. Right now he's being held in detention in Louisiana while a judge in the Southern District of New York. Folks, we know all about the Southern District of New York, don't we? We know just how corrupted and dirty that area is. So this is another reason I want to continue to follow this story. The judge has temporarily said he is not to be deported till they can figure out what's going on, which it sounds to me like they're going to do everything they can to try to stop this deportation from happening. Probably as a thumb up the nose to President Trump as best they can. So what it may take, folks, is for us to raise up our voices again and say, no, these people have got to go. We don't want people like that in this country. Or people like radical Judge Tanya Chutkan that allowed state attorneys to unveil the names of Doge employees. Ladies and gentlemen, this is scary. They want to know who these people are so that they can find everything they can on these people and try to destroy them in the media, try to destroy their name, right? If not, try to physically harm them and intimidate them into stop doing what they're doing. If this was a murder case and you had the person that's up for murder wanting to see the witness list, the reason is probably so they can get rid of the witnesses, right? They would not release that information in that particular case. We've seen it on the TV shows 100 times, but it is legit. However, in this case, they are releasing the name of innocent witnesses, if you will, to a group of people that mean nothing but negative intent and harm. And it's very clear that they mean nothing but negative intent and harm. Yet this radical, weaponized, sorry excuse for a human that calls herself a judge, Tanya Chutkan, unleashed a legal assault on Elon Musk and the newly formed Doge, greenlighting a fishing expedition that threatens to expose Doge employees to the wrath of left-wing bureaucrats. Chutkan's order mandates that Doge disclose sensitive information and internal documents concerning employees, contracts, and federal engagements directly linked in states participating in the lawsuit. Chutkan justified the plaintiff's aggressive interrogatives, ruling that sufficiently targeted parameter of Doge and Musk's authority. So basically they're doing everything they can to hurt President Trump. According to the ruling and Doge, plaintiff's discovery request shall be limited to information and materials regarding agencies, employees, contracts, grants, federal funding, legal agreements, databases, and data management systems that involve or engage with plaintiff states. Recommend and recommendation shall be deleted, and forth hence shall be replaced with directed and direction. Ladies and gentlemen, if they find out who all of these Doge employees are, they're going to do everything they can to smear these people in the mocking stream media, to do everything they can to get these people hurt by unhinged leftists who want nothing more than to destroy what is going on. This judge is out of her mind and needs to be removed from the bench because she is putting people's lives at risk at this point. Again, the left is not doing this with the intent of knowing who's auditing them for good measure. They are doing this for the intent of finding out who's doing the audit to intimidate and ruin every single person involved because they hate the American people. They hate the fact they're being uncovered. They hate the fact that the American people may thrive again. They hate the fact that their kickbacks are no longer kicking back. And they are going to get revenge on the American people in every way possible. And the best thing they can do right now is try to stop this Doge from doing what it's doing. And they're going to try to use lawfare, which we know they said the other week that they're going to do everything they can to use lawfare to hurt Doge. Any judge that sides against Doge at this point just needs to be automatically removed from the bench for showing their own bias and hatred for this country. For misuse of authority. They need to be impeached or removed or whatever the case may be. Because they have no authority whatsoever to second guess the executive branch, for one, in the fact that the executive branch has the power to make certain decisions, like firing Perkins Coie law firm, if you will, or at least pulling their security clearances. However, Obama Judge Beryl Howell sides with Perkins Coie, another person that needs to be removed from the bench, even though Perkins Coie is the one that was behind the Russia dossier, helped Clinton the whole way, has done everything they can, once again, to destroy President Trump in illegal ways. Former Gorsuch clerk Mike Davis previously listed Beryl Howell's lawless and radical actions. She is a highly partisan actor. She's an Obama judge. She used to work as a Democrat staffer on the Senate Judiciary Committee for Chairman Patrick Leahy. She was a former federal prosecutor with Loretta Lynch and Andrew Weissman. She co-authored, both of which, by the way, have very, very bad cases of TDS. She co-authored a legal paper with Andrew Weissman from the Mueller probe. She supervised the Mueller probe. She was the harshest sentencer of J6 defendants, showing a very strong bias against the right side. She even pressured the DOJ to sentence them more harshly. She seized a congressman's phone, which was overturned by the D.C. Circuit. She made Trump's attorney turn over attorney-client privilege records and didn't give them time to appeal before she made them turn them over. She went after Twitter with illegal warrants with Jack Smith to get all of the records the government is not entitled to have. She's absolutely a left-wing activist, not a real judge. And she's going to do everything she can to hurt Trump, which means they're going to get every case they can in front of this dirty wannabe excuse for a judge. Horrible excuse for a human. Right? Perkins Coie, again, behind the bogus Russia dossier. Russia, the whole thing. Lied, paid lawyers, did everything they can to perpetrate a hoax. Yes, their security clearance needs to be absolutely pulled. Another judge that thinks they can step in and decide what the executive branch can do. Do you see the lawfare still being attempted, ladies and gentlemen? This is becoming a major issue as they're trying to use every court they can find against the president, against every single thing he does. The more the president tries to help this country and do good for this country, the more the other side fights to hurt and destroy this country. They're not even hiding it anymore, ladies and gentlemen. If you like something, if you back something, they want it destroyed. They want it repealed. They want it pulled back. They don't want you to get what you want in this country. The American citizen to these people is nothing more than cattle, nothing more than slaves to their use. These people believe they are your leaders, not your representatives, which is a major problem because they are not your leaders, ladies and gentlemen. You do not elect leaders to Congress. You do not elect leaders to judge. You do not elect leaders except for the president, who's the leader of the free world. But apparently this judge has ruled that the firing of a member of the labor board is unlawful. Again, another case where the Supreme Court has got to intervene and actually lay down the law. We will continue to follow that story also. DOJ responds to the email from senior USAID official ordering destruction of documents. Now, this I found interesting because what they're saying is they didn't really destroy documents. Not as you're thinking or as the mainstream media has made it out to be anyway. According to the mocking stream media, USAID have been instructed to clear out classified safes and personnel documents, told to shred as many as possible. However, shred as many documents as possible, put it in the bag. Now, what they're saying is basically this was all duplicate information, no new data, no original copies were destroyed at all. Everything that was destroyed was secondary, backup, redundant, and the original files are still on file at whatever office they were kept at alternatively. So yes, they were ordered to destroy documents that were of a redundant fashion. The DOJ is well aware of it. No charges are being brought because they didn't do anything wrong. They aren't destroying new documents. They aren't covering up evidence. They aren't getting rid of evidence like that. They're destroying documents that there are probably 5, 6, 9, 15 copies of, right? That's the story. Let me know what you guys thinking about them. Do you believe it? Or do you think it's a whole bunch of bunkum? Kash Patel's FBI charges high-ranking CBP official in FEMA fraud scheme scandal. Kash Patel took to X on Wednesday to announce a major breakthrough in the fight against public corruption, saying, "Today, following efforts with our interagency partners, I can report that a career director-level employee at U.S. Customs and Border Protection has been charged with allegedly attempting to defraud FEMA as well as lying to federal agents. He goes on to say that this is part of a new, I was hoping it would load by that, of new FBI's renewed efforts to crack down on public corruption and deliver accountability to the American people. Justice will be done. Thanks to Pam Bondi, Justice Department, and FBI Detroit. So thank you, Kash Patel, for finally bringing at least a small bit of accountability to where it's needed. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I try to end on a feel-good story, and that we have here today. Judge denies Pulitzer's board's effort to delay Trump defamation case. Trump sued the board of Pulitzer Prize in 2022 for defamation after it refused to retract the prizes awarded in 2018 to the New York Times and the Washington Post for their coverage of the Trump-Russia collusion narratives. The board previously conducted a review of the prizes and stood by the awards. Neither news outlet are a defendant in the suit. Folks, Russia, the Russia collusion hoax. It was all a hoax. The whole thing was lies directed to do nothing but bring down President Trump. That's the only purpose it had, was try to smear Trump's name and bring him down based on a false dossier helped out by Perkins Coie, and then fed to the Washington Post and New York Times, where they did everything they could to smear President Trump and covered only one side of the story, as if Trump was the bad guy and as if they had some kind of evidence that they never had. And then they were given Pulitzer Prizes for smearing Trump as badly as they did. Trump told them, you really need to pull these prizes. He gave them a number of chances and they refused to. The Pulitzer Board defendants have tried to delay the case and keep secret internal deliberations about the award in the discovery phase. In January, the board invoked Trump's presidential immunity arguments in other cases to suggest it would raise constitutional concerns for the president to be subject to legal proceedings in a state court. The judge denied this motion, ruling the president could decide on his own whether the proceedings would interfere with his obligations. However, should he not uphold his obligations, then the court will be forced to rule for the board of Pulitzer. Now, we both know that's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. One of two things is going to happen. The Pulitzer board is either going to be outed for doing some very dirty and illegal shenanigans, or it'll be outed as a propaganda machine whose award actually means absolutely nothing, means you accomplished the least in the journalism realm, or it'll be shut down completely. But either way you cut it, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to end well for those people over at the Pulitzer Prize Board. Until they start actually giving it to real journalists and not these propaganda machines, it's not going to happen. And one last note before we go. I heard the other day that ABC and NBC and CBS and all these mocking stream media stations are now acting like they're going to do good. That they have realized the error of their ways, and they were wrong for trying to cram absolute garbage down your throat for the last 12, 15, 20 years, at least the last 4 to 8. We're really, really sorry, they said, and we now want your advertising dollars. Well, please come back. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to let these companies drown in the debt that they have accrued across the American people, from the lack of trust to the lack of funding that they're now facing. They have earned it. They deserve to go the way of the dodo bird. These companies that have done this to you have no business calling themselves media companies. And I don't know about you, but I would not give a single penny to a media company until we repeal the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. Because that's what allows these wannabe journalists to become propagandists and lie to you all day long. That's what allows the news stations to become activist organizations. So until we repeal the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, I don't think any of these stations or networks should get another single red cent from the American taxpayer. I think it should be off limits to give another penny to these people until that's repealed. Because we're not going to get true news in this country anymore. We're not going to get true information across our airwaves anymore that isn't propagandized if we don't do this. But it's up to every one of us to make a loud enough noise to get that done. And I know we've got a lot we're fighting for right now. But this is something that should take priority, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get this repealed. We've got to get real news back in this country and get rid of the fake news propaganda organizations that are doing an absolute disservice to every person that is watching them. And it's all up to us, folks. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the ending music. My name's Jerry Hicks. This has been another episode of the Jerry Hicks Show. We are a part of the Censored Freedom Network. Check out Censored Freedom Network on X, ladies and gentlemen, as we post over there daily. You can also check us out on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and we post shorts of the show over on the X platform to try to get people to come over and watch it elsewhere. With that said, on behalf of the Censored Freedom Network, my name's Jerry Hicks. This is the Jerry Hicks Show, and until tomorrow, stay awake, but dare to dream. Stand strong, patriots. Good night, everybody.